First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
Thank you, General.
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
Thank you, General. Change.
The Second Amendment, from the day it was passed, limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you want to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
Shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. A young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law.
Hey, it's me, and welcome to Trump Mafia. You know we're in real trouble when you see how woke General Milley Cyrus is. And you heard the guy, right? He somehow believes that he's the Attorney General or a Democrat prosecutor, labeling the motives and the actions as being white rage, and that these people were trying to overturn the election or overthrow the government. And this is not true, of course. You're talking about people that were protesting and trespassed. That's it. And you actually saw this happening in the Capitol even years before, Black Lives Matter and other people. So did he think that was black rage? No, because he's so woke, he's such a Democrat. He has to label all of this as being some kind of a racist mob to smear Republicans and conservatives. Make no mistake, General Mark Milley Cyrus is a Democrat. And it's very dangerous because our military is supposed to be apolitical, but the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley Cyrus, and the other chiefs, they're all woke as hell. And they're all peddling the critical race theory while pretending they're not. And you had Milley Cyrus kind of bragging that he was reading Karl Marx and Lenin, but he didn't read Mein Kampf. How come? Because there would be blowback. But if you actually read Mein Kampf, you would know that everything Mark Milley Cyrus is doing and saying is exactly what Hitler wanted from the German Wehrmacht. And so to be a student of history means you have to study all of history, not just one angle. But he's a Democrat. He can't help himself. And you need no further proof about this guy being a complete leftist, but to look at two events. The inauguration, and you saw the clip. He was there cavorting around with the camel toe, flirting with Kamala Harris. And it was just not becoming of his position, right? So as chairman of Joint Chiefs, he's supposed to stand there, but not, grab Kamala's arms and hands and, look into her eyes and I love you. No, I love you. No, I love you more. And it was so embarrassing to watch. But the other event is what happened after the Lafayette Square incident where President Trump walked from the White House to the church and held up the Bible. Remember that? Well, the left at the time claimed that the White House instructed the police to remove these protesters so that President Trump could have this photo op. That's what they called it. And when he was walking to the church, General Milley was there walking as well as the Attorney General, Bill Barr. Now, not soon afterwards, he made some kind of a video, like a hostage video, saying that he shouldn't have walked with Trump and he's so embarrassed about it. It was wrong and the military should not get involved. And he was actually buying into the lie that the president had ordered the police to remove the protesters for the photo op. So he's using a left-wing lie to then try to strengthen it by saying that he shouldn't have walked with President Trump. when it was really a harmless walk. And now we know, of course, after the election, that no, this clearing of the protesters was decided many days before and had no White House involvement. So his little hostage video there was a complete lie. And so his premise for not walking with Trump, or at least not wanting to walk with Trump, but having done it, was basically a lie. And so if you look at these things, you see a Democrat who is also trying to, be apolitical in the sense that he's looking at his position where he has to be apolitical, but he can't help himself. Just like any Democrat, it's all about power, sucking up, and being okay with the establishment. And currently he's sucking up to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. And I made a video about the guy, last week, so you can check it out. But he was the worst CENTCOM commander in U.S. history. And it's a little bit different because now he's Defense Secretary, right? He's in charge of the Defense Department, so he's a political operator. And of course he's a Democrat. He's also for affirmative action. And he himself has been promoted because of that. But so it's different from a serving chairman of the Joint Chiefs, because the Defense Secretary is a direct disciple of the president, whereas the military is supposed to be apolitical. But having said all that, look, if you have Lloyd Austin there pushing critical race theory, and you have then Milley Cyrus sucking up to Lloyd Austin, then what you have is a military that is controlled by the Democrats, and they're pushing left-wing ideology. And they even ordered the whole military to stand down so they could purge people that have bad thoughts. So if Milley Cyrus says that protesting against, possible fraud in the election is white rage, how is it connected to racism? Or how is race even a factor in it? Well, it is if you believe in critical race theory, because that's racism. It's really blaming white people for every wrong in the world. And they're actually pushing that pyramid. I have the picture up in one of the slides, and our military has been compromised for a long time by the left wing. And the reason is because, look, you have NATO, you have all these alliances, you have these think tanks overseas, and anyone that leaves the military of a high rank, generals for example, they end up, being at Raytheon or some of the other industries that are part of that whole cabal. So they actually have to stay on good terms with China, because China has a lot of money in all those alliances and think tanks, and they want to be an operator, because if they're blacklisted by China, they cannot join a think tank where you do have visits to China, from NATO groups or whatnot. And you have the whole European experience where they're very left-wing, where in Europe, even conservatives are actually what we would call Democrats or rhinos. So what these generals do, they start sucking up to the left, because they're talking about issues that the left wants. And the military, of course, should not be involved in politics, but if you have that swampy process where these people end up in think tanks and make a lot of money, kind of using their service and then betraying their nation, they're going to be left-wing, because after they retire, they don't want to be blacklisted or shunned by the left-wing that controls many of those think tanks. And it's a good example if you look at the second impeachment, where you have the Ukraine thing. Wait, that's the first one. The Ukraine thing, where you have all these NSC people, and, they're part of those groups, right? So you have some Europeans there, and you have a Ukrainian there, Vindman, for example. He was in the military, but, they were all like possibly getting kickbacks from Ukraine, but then they're accusing President Trump of not giving aid or withholding aid. But now that Biden does it to please his master, Putin, they're all like silent. How did that happen? Well, it's because whatever the left wing does is what the left wing does. So they will not criticize that. And if it's a Republican, of course, they will criticize it, even if it doesn't make any sense. And so if you look at General Milley Cyrus, I mean, he's sucking up. I have never seen such a brown nose in my life. And it's sad because you're the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You're supposed to have balls. And in an event of China acting out, I mean, the guy even said China has no capability to attack Taiwan. I mean, what is he talking about? And this is the perfect example of he doesn't want to piss off China, because when he retires, he wants to get the windfall of money that comes. And many of those groups want to be in touch with China. And so if you're blacklisted, then you're of no value for them. So he's just saying that to please China rather than saying what really needs to be said. And the same with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. You know, he was the worst CENTCOM commander ever. Promoted, of course, because of Choco, Barack Hussein Obama. And then after he retires, suddenly he's at Raytheon and, you know, all these companies that are giving him a lot of money, right? Suddenly he's Secretary of Defense. Why? Because he plays the game, and on top of that, he's also a Democrat operative. He always was, even in CENTCOM. So if you looked at the battle against ISIS during the Obama years, it's very clear that all of them did not want to destroy ISIS because the left wing is anti-Israel and anti-Saudi Arabia to a large extent. So they wanted to keep ISIS there. So it's not just Barack Obama. So it's like the chicken and the egg. You know, which came first? Was it Barack Obama and Valerie Jarrett wanting to help Iran and therefore create ISIS to create more danger for Christians in Israel and Saudi Arabia? Or was it the military that is so woke that they actually had this plan, and Choco being the puppet, he just does it. You know, he does what he's told. And, you know, somehow I do believe that the military is the entity really running the show here. Also election 2020. I think at the heart of it is the whole military and the industrial complex that goes with it, all the think tanks, the Europeans, and even China to a certain extent, and that they were the drivers, and that when you had the thing happen, then they are the ones making sure that everything goes well, and they put thousands of troops in our nation's capital. And then now they're talking about the enemy being within, and they're talking about white rage. So it's the military really seeing the American people as the enemy. And suddenly you have Biden talking about nuking the American people, or, you know, he's talking about Thomas Jefferson saying, you know, the blood of tyrants and stuff. I mean, that's what he said, right? It's just like he doesn't even remember or know. I mean, he's been told a couple of things before he reads a teleprompter, and when it comes out garbled. But what Biden is trying to say actually undercuts their narrative, because they're supposed to claim that, you know, these grannies, these MAGA grannies, were overthrowing the government and white rage, and, you know, it's the greatest danger to our democracy. I mean, they're saying it was worse than 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, where thousands of people died. I mean, these people are nuts, but they really believe that stuff. But then if Biden comes out and says to overthrow the government, you need nuclear weapons and jets, and you had a couple of people breaking windows, probably Antifa people, but even as such, wow, you break a window of a federal building and you're overthrowing the government. I mean, really now. Even if Antifa is, you know, setting buildings on fire, these people don't care. And they're not occupying any cities. But when it is connected to election 2020, they're very nervous, and they're exaggerating, and, you know, they're putting troops on the ground. Why is that, right? It's like they don't even understand how suspicious their behavior is. And the exaggerations, even now, really indicate that these people know what they did. It's a guilty conscience. The exaggerated claims of white rage and overthrowing the government and insurrection, it's pathetic, if you really think about it. But it's also dangerous when you're looking at a military that is controlled. All these top generals, they're all Democrats. Just like the DOJ, FBI, they're going after MAGA grannies, but they don't care about BLM or cyber hackers or Antifa. It's just an idea, right? And they also see the same. I mean, you have the establishment clearly indicating that they are the elites, they hold the levers of power, and they own the military. And they're even boasting about it, saying, hey, you want to do something? You're going to need nuclear weapons. Do you have nuclear weapons? He's really telling Republicans and conservatives, do you have nuclear weapons? Otherwise, you're under our rule. I mean, this guy is a tyrant. Joe Biden is a tyrant and a loser, right? Because, look, he's so feeble, he can't even read a teleprompter. But the thought is there, right? And also the incompetence, basically, of a Joe Biden. And he's talking about how even the Second Amendment had limits from the start. What is he talking about? The Constitution is not about limiting power. It's about ensuring some of our rights in written, but it's not complete. I mean, we have many more things that we can do that are not in the Constitution. For example, we can travel and we can buy a car, drive a car. Is that in the Constitution? I mean, is there an amendment that says, thou shalt use a vehicle to travel? No, right? I mean, come on. So, but that's how the Democrats see it. They see it as, and that really indicates a leftist frame of mind. They see the Constitution as an obstacle, a hindrance, because exactly that, they ensure some of our rights that we already have, given to us by God. And so they see the Constitution as being a hindrance to totalitarian power. So now what they're saying is, well, some of those things are not really accurate. And what they want to do is chisel away the Constitution or just take it away in the Bill of Rights. They just want to get rid of it and impose their rule. And now you notice that even when it comes to elections, they want to do what they want to do. And when we the people react, hey, look at them, white rage, what a bunch of racists, what a bunch of insurrectionists. These people are dangerous. But they're not talking about the people that are actually acting like the elites, tyrants, really. And so if you have Biden talking about Thomas Jefferson, who was talking about tyrants, and, this is very soon after the War for Independence, then you just know that these people are talking about this all the time. And why would you talk about it unless there's something that happened that would really make those people think about overthrowing the government, right? If everything was just perfect, then why are they talking about these things? And I'm talking about Lloyd Austin, Milley Cyrus, and Biden. They're talking about these things because they know what they did. It's a tell. It's just like the forensic audits, right? If he got 81 million votes, then why are they so triggered by forensic audits? Why do they want to prevent forensic audits? Because they know it's a type of guilt of conscience, and there's always a tell. Just like when you're a detective, when you're looking at people, when you read people, no matter how good these people are, there's always a tell. There's some kind of a tell. Or, when you play poker, there's always some kind of a tell. And it's just about noticing it. But, if Biden and Lloyd Austin and Milley Cyrus were poker players, they wouldn't make a dime. Because it's so obvious, right? I mean, these people are so obvious about the whole thing. And the reason is, just like Biden said, they're safe. Because to overthrow them They're saying you need nuclear weapons, right? And so they don't understand how our constitutional republic works. They are acting like tyrants. They're boasting about it. They're giving the middle finger to America. And the DOJ, FBI, and the military, they see the enemy as being the American people. Not China, not Russia, not Iran, not Antifa, not BLM. No, it's conservative Americans that believe in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and that our nation is the greatest nation on earth. Now, if you have a military, don't you want the military to be saying, "Make America great again," or "America is the greatest nation on earth"? Yeah, that's what you want. But instead, you have these people peddling the fake history that somehow the USA was founded upon racism, that it's a no-good country. We have our military saying these things, distributing propaganda to everybody in the military that our nation is not great, that it's full of racists, and that we're the problem in the world. And so Milley Cyrus really is helping China, is helping Russia. They're laughing at us. But he's also making a lot of Americans upset, right? I mean, we have a military now that is basically an arm of the Democrat Party. And, in Nazi Germany, it was called the Schutzstaffel, fiercely loyal to the party. And the party comes first, nation second, and they don't care about the people, right? They're just tools in their eyes. Well, that's what we have. Our military, the generals, they're like SS officers. They're not loyal to the Constitution or we the people. They are loyal to the Democrat Party. And that's very dangerous. So what we're seeing here, they're using Marxism as a tool, especially for the lower level people. And they're tinkering with it. But overall, what we have here is not communism. This is sheer social fascism. And they're using the military, the corporations are colluding with the one state, one party. And everybody that falls in line, okay, you're a part of the team, right? The party. And if not, you will be canceled, and worse, as you can see with the DOJ, FBI, and the military. They're going after even little grannies, even children. I mean, they will not stop until they have total control. And so, they're talking like King George did and the Brits did, and they were wrong because, look, we have a constitutional republic, and, it's about we the people, not about the elites, not about a kingdom. Biden is not a king. But he certainly thinks he is one. And we have to make sure that in 2022, we elect people that really believe in the Constitution, that our nation is great, to put America first, not these, Democrat losers. And we need to make sure our military is apolitical. I also don't want a Republican military. I want a military that puts America first. Now, if the Republican Party now becomes America First, AFF, America First Forever, that's not a Republican thing. That's the way it should be. It should be the default. The problem is that the Democrat Party puts America last. Who will do that? What kind of a political party puts its own nation last? The Democrat Party. So it's not a problem that the Republican Party is putting America first, because that's how it should be for both parties. The problem is that the Democrat Party, they hate the flag, they hate the anthem, they even hate the police, they actually hate the military. That's why they're making it so woke that it's America last, that it's an LGBTQ dumping ground, that, the mission is not to defend America. The mission is to defend liberal or left-wing values and policies, and to protect left-wing politicians. That's what you see. And so, of course, it's going to change. But, the Obama years has really been a disaster for our system. You know, they've been attacking it up and down, every department, agency, our military, and of course, you know, Hollywood, universities. They really want total power, but they're not in sync with the American people. They are, in fact, the majority of a minority, meaning in some places like big cities, they have a large majority, but overall in the nation, what they want is not popular. And many Democrats, moderate Democrats, they don't want all this radicalism or Marx or Lenin or critical race theories or trans whatever. They want, you know, to make America great. And so it's really up to us to vote in the right people and also to be patient. And, you know, they want to trigger us into being racist or to attack people so that they can say, see, look, see, we're right. It's white rage. But at the same time, we do have pride as Americans and we the people. And we'll show them, you know, in 2022, it's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, Democrats are going to lose big. And in the end, you know, if you look at the military, even in Congress, even in the GOP, you know, they're all swampy people. And they're all followers and idiots. You know, if the leadership changes, you know, they just fall in line. They turn like the wind. That's the kind of people we're talking about. Milley Cyrus is a good example of that. I mean, we're talking about a spineless jellyfish of a man. I mean, this guy doesn't even have balls. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I cannot believe it. And Lloyd Austin, you know, he's, you know, an incompetent loser. I mean, he's not all there. He's a complete moron. And I wonder how many great generals, black, white, or any color, were actually demoted so that this idiot could be promoted. Because in the end, if you have a military that is really full of leftists, something went really wrong. If our military believes in America last, then we're in big trouble.